QSBS, as we've talked about before, is the $10 million exclusion or $15 million, depending on when you acquired it, or 10 times basis. And so a lot of times we'll have founders come to us, and by the time they're selling their shares, they're probably over maybe the 10 or $15 million. And so they come to us and they say, how do I make this more tax savings? Because that's always the goal. So then we talk about gifting shares. And so the basics of gifting is that the person receiving the gift gets your basis, and they also get the same characteristics as your shares. So if they're QSBS shares that you've held for the required meeting period, so say 5 years, then it retains that same characteristics. And so the only reason you wouldn't want to do this is because I don't want to give up the money. I want to spend that money to buy a second house. I want to go on ski trips. I want to pay off a ton of debt. You are technically going to be giving up control of the funds. And so that's another reason why I would say, hey, like that may not be the best idea. But what I do want you to look at is say, I want to give this money to a child. And so if we're going to do that, I want to do it through a non-grantor irrevocable trust, because children that receive it directly, it can impact their financial aid later on down the road. And then also, if they own the shares directly, it could also be subject to creditor liens. And if they got divorced down the road, those same funds would also be subject to divorce proceedings. And so putting it in the trust really helps shelter, and then also helps create some kind of control for you as a parent to say, I'm not just giving my child all of this money. And so the next step behind that is to say, when do I give the shares? And so we like to see you give the shares when they're at a lower valuation, because each year you can gift a certain amount of funds to an individual and stay underneath the annual exclusion. And so for 2025, that's $18,000. And so overall in your lifetime, you can give $13.99 million, and that gets changed next year to $15 million and then indexed for inflation. And so after that point, if you've given above and beyond that, then you trigger gift tax. And so we want to preserve that lifetime exclusion because you might need it down the road. And also we don't want to see you pay gift taxes, because the whole point of this is to not pay a bunch of taxes. And so we like to see you do it at a lower valuation. We also like to see you not create multiple trusts for one child. The IRS has taken a very strict stance that if you create multiple trusts for the same beneficiary, it's really the same trust. And so they're like, no, you can create one and you can do that, but you could create multiple trusts, but with different beneficiaries. So say you have 2 children, you create 2 trusts, a beneficiary for your, say, child 1 and child 2. And so you could also do this for siblings. You could do this for nieces, nephews, whoever you really want, but just know that you're giving up control of that money by gifting it. So those are kind of the highlights of the do's and don'ts of gifting with QSBS. So really interesting stuff, and you can save at least $2.38 million for each time that you do it. So it's worth spending the time to look into it and see, okay, I want to implement this strategy into my estate planning.